Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for another wonderful episode of My EdTech Life. And that's right, it is, I don't even know what day we are. We're Thursday morning because I'm so used to doing this on Saturday, but I'm just so excited to be here with some amazing guests. But before we start, as always, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you so much for making My EdTech Life part of your day, for making My EdTech Life part of your listening, wherever in the world you may be. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for the likes, the shares, the follows, and the beautiful messages and emails that are so encouraging. I appreciate y'all. And as always, we strive for excellence in bringing educators, creators together one show at a time. And talking about bringing educators and creators one show at a time, I'm so excited today because I have the wonderful, beautiful, tech savvy, fabulous, just outgoing ladies of Janelle here today. So we've got Jenny Long and we've got Sally Clark joining us this morning. Ladies, we'll start with Jenny. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. I'm cold, but enjoying the break and excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I really appreciate you all. I know that we're going through that little just Arctic freeze and all that stuff is coming down and, you guys are getting hit. But thank you so much for, being here this morning so we can go ahead and chat. Sally, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It is crazy right now. The weather, I hope the house doesn't blow away. The wind is blowing so hard, but it's it's bad when your son wakes up at 7:30 a.m., who's a teenager, and is like, is everything okay outside? I was like, it's
Oh,
fine. You're good. Get
oh
back to
my
bed.
Yeah, no, no, no. We're expecting that, and just like we talked a little bit in the pre-chat, probably won't be getting that till like about Christmas Eve. So I still have a little bit of time, but we're definitely prepping. We're 5 hours south of San Antonio, so we're definitely getting ready today and making sure that everything is all set. And it's going to be a very, very crisp Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So hopefully everything will hold up as far as the power and everything,
Mhm.
and hopefully everybody will be well. But I'm just so excited to be here with you all. And thank you so much for the invite. I am a longtime follower, a longtime fan of the amazing work that you do. You are just so great at sharing just so much content. And so, I mean, not only are you amazing educators in this space, but just amazing content creators too, because you make the learning fun for us all with your amazing TikToks too. I'm a huge fan of those. So I really appreciate that. But today we're going to go ahead and talk about your mission. One thing that I loved about reading your bio that you shared with me was just your mission that you have to empower educators and making learning accessible for all. So we'll definitely center the conversation there. But before we get to that, my favorite segment too is the superhero origin story. And I always tell my guests, anybody that is sitting across from me here in the interview section, you're like a superhero. We definitely look up to you. We learn a lot, and every superhero has an origin story. So, Sally, we'll start with you first. If you can go ahead and share a little bit of your superhero education journey with us
Sure.
today.
Awesome. Well, I started teaching. Okay, we always get our years mixed up. I think once you like surpass a certain number, you're like, I don't remember how many years I've been teaching, but I believe it's 18. Is that right, Jenny? She keeps me on track. I'm not really
Yes.
sure. But I've been in education for 18 years. I started off as a pre-K teacher, also with a special ed background. So I was both general ed and special ed teacher. And then I went back to school and got my Master of Education and Technology and became a librarian and was a librarian for 8 years. And then I transitioned into an instructional technologist role, which is where I met Jenny.
Excellent. Now, let me ask you something because I always like to ask this first, also as well. Did you always have education, in your plans? Did you always want to be a teacher, or was education something that later on you kind of fell into and then you just blossomed from there?
That's a great question. My mom is actually a retired principal and was a principal while I was in school. And in fact, I saw the long nights, the tears, the hardship that she went through, and said, I never want to do that. And I ran as far away from it as I could. And I actually got a degree in marketing, like a Bachelor of Business Administration. You too, yeah. And then my senior year, I had Tuesdays and Thursdays off in college. So my mom was like, well, come back and just sub for me because I need subs. So I was like, sure, I'll come back and sub. And as I was subbing, I fell in love with the kids, with the teachers, the culture. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is exactly where I want to be. So I actually went back and got an alternative certification to become a teacher after that.
Oh, that is great. And, very similar story. I ran away from education. I never wanted to be an educator. And I said, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to make the big bucks. And of course, I have my bachelor's in business and my
Uh-huh.
area of specialty was marketing. And then I fell into education, but I absolutely fell in love with it. So it's great to
Mhm.
hear those stories because I always like to our educators to know that we don't always come in from the conventional route as far as going straight through education. Our roads may take different paths, but when we land here, we just do our best and we thrive. So thank you, Sally, for sharing that
Yeah.
story. Jenny, if you
Mhm.
can share your education origin story, I would love to hear that.
Sure. I, as like Slee, also came from a family of educators. My mom is a teacher. My aunt was a teacher, is a teacher. So cousins, like, lots of educators. So I always just thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But I did work in a dentist office for about 6 years and thought for a little while that might be the thing. I would go into hygiene or dentistry, but no, my heart was still pulled into education. So this is, I think, my 25th year in education. So I have kind of run the gamut from everything in different states, and we've moved and traveled a lot. But I have a degree in reading, but I actually taught mostly math, middle school math. But I was Montessori certified for a little while, did that, and ran a computer lab, which actually was my very first job. So I think it was destiny that I was supposed to be in EdTech. But in the classroom for 12 years, teaching, like I said, mostly 4th through 7th grade reading and math. And then I transitioned out of that because of opportunity to go into like a instructional technologist position, did some curriculum as well, science curriculum and reading curriculum. And so for the past 12 years, I've also joined the instructional technologist world and curriculum and love that. I also have my master's in instructional technology, like Celie. So 6 years ago, we started working together in a district. And so we'll tell you a little bit more about that story of our together journey. But yeah, I've just always loved being in education, love being around children, love teaching. Like, I think, it's just one of those God-given talents that you just love teaching and training and seeing that light bulb moment. I always, love that. That's what I strive for, and the aha and when they get it, and just love, being in this world.
Oh, that's great. I love that too. And it's so interesting, and very hearing your story. Like I said, we've run into each other at conferences, but we've never really had a time to chat because, it's just local, like, hey, how's it going and everything and so on, because, you guys have sessions, so on and so forth. But just to hear that story, it's just great because it just, same thing, same connection here, marketing, then ed tech masters, and then doing this job as well. And, just trying to do our best. But like you said, one of the things that I do love about education was really working with the students, definitely seeing those aha moments. And
Mhm.
even now with educators too, and working with them too, seeing those aha moments,
Mhm.
it's amazing too as well, and just in a different light. And it's just wonderful with, with the work that you're doing as far as the books, the trainings, the conferences, and everything that you guys are working. But I do want to hear that little bit of the story now, how both Jenny and Salih ended up meeting and became this great duo that is out there doing some amazing things. So maybe, I don't know, maybe who wants to tell the story? Will we go with Salih, Jenny?
Oh, this way.
Okay, Jenny, so go ahead and let us know how this
I'll, I'll
all started. Yeah.
I'll start it, but Slee will chime in because that's what we do. But so 6 years ago, yes, we started at Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, which is just a little bit north of Fort Worth. And so we started work the same day and instantly just connected. There were two other gentlemen on the team at the time with us. And then we also had our coordinator of instructional technology, but it was just the four of us, and Slee and I being the only, two females, we just instantly we're like, okay, we got to figure this out together and get to know each other. And we just bonded. We had the same, goals in life and values, and just instantly became great friends. And, and a little bit later, we'll tell you a little bit more about the transition too, is where we are now. But we just loved going into classrooms, and we had a great opportunity to kind of make the job what we wanted. And coming from our experiences in other districts were like, we're going to just go in classrooms and work with teachers and students and just make this what we want, and just had that freedom, which we were very thankful for. But we just had a great time. And, just knowing that we had those similarities, it was just really easy to form our friendship. And I've always gone to conferences. I've always, been a part of that world, and I'd get on Twitter every now and then when I would go to a conference, but I was never really a presenter until I met Celie. And it's just like, you need to find that person that really brings that out in you. And Celie has a great story with her Twitter history and how she would connect with authors in the library and just use Twitter as not just go to a conference and post a quote, right? Like really connecting and building those relationships. And so she taught me so much about Twitter. And I think really at that point, it's when our community really started growing, and we really started realizing there's this whole world out there of educators that we can learn from and that we can contribute to. And that really changed a lot for us. And then we started presenting together, and just we're like, oh, this is fun. I think that we should do something with this. So we actually started, what did we say, 4 years ago, Celie? On March 1st, 2018, was our very first interview that we did with a teacher. So we started going in classrooms, and we thought, oh, this teacher's doing something really cool. And this particular thing was adding audio to a Canvas assignment, or giving feedback, with audio. And so we asked the teacher, how did you do that? Want to share that with us? And so we made the Janelle show, and we put that on our YouTube show. And so we thought, if one teacher has a question or is doing something, we might as well put that out on the internet so everyone can learn from that. And so we started the Janelle show, and from there we would just go in classrooms and do on-the-spot interviews and interview students and share out great things that were happening. And so it's definitely transformed since then. But that's kind of how we started. And then our name, so you want to tell our name story?
Sure. One of our coworkers, Ricky Godey, he loved to mesh names together to create names, kind of like Benifer or whatever. So he would always mesh all of our names together when we would go work, different schools and with different teachers. And so he kept calling us Janelle for Jen, and then Ali of Celie. And so we were like, oh, we really like that. Let's just stick with Janelle. That's what everybody keeps calling us here. So we just coined it and ran with it. And we were like, we like the way it sounds and meshes our names together. So it was a fun way to do that. And we had, I guess at that time, we had 25 schools in the district. Jenny, is that right? And so in having 25 schools, it's difficult to get to all of them and with only 4 people. And so that's really, where the YouTube, we saw using technology and leveraging technology to be able to reach that many people was the best way to go. And through that, we've now built an online community, which has been so special to us just because we learn from them, we share with them, we really are family with everyone online. When you go to a conference and you meet someone from Twitter that you've been in all of these chats with, that you've shared ideas with, that you've helped, that they've helped you. It's like, you just do the slow run as you run and hug, because it's like, oh my goodness, I feel like we're family. That happened with us with the E-twins, Alberto and Mario. And so it was just, we felt like instantly we were family. So I think that's the power of technology and leveraging it in what we do.
Excellent. Yeah, and definitely the power of connections. That's so wonderful, because I've been able to connect with the E-twins as well on a couple of shows, and then of course in person, and you guys are with them too as well. So that's great. We just see, and it really does feel like family, and just the kindness and just authenticity and genuineness is great, because it's the way you are, online is the exact same way that you are in person, and vice versa. So for all of you that may not know, these ladies are wonderful both online and in person. Same thing with the E-twins and a lot of the educators that we have on this show. So, excuse me, ladies, today, so we're going to talk about your mission, because like I said, that's one of the things that I really loved, and it just really stuck. And I said, I want to learn a little bit more, because as somebody that is a practitioner such as yourself, and in the same role in a school district, I'm always looking for new ideas and maybe seeing things from a different perspective. So your mission, like I said, I'm going to repeat it because I love it. It says to empower educators to make learning accessible and fun for all. So as you guys started working together and, forming this bond, what were some of the things that you immediately kind of just started seeing that were happening within the current school district, and maybe even now, I know that you are in a new school district. What are the things that you kind of look for first to kind of assess where you may be going to just bring just some classroom awesomeness to teachers and students?
Yeah, I think for us, just to kind of give you a little background too on why the mission came to be, our mission, we both have children of our own with dyslexia. And so, working with them, working with their teachers, trying to empower them with technology really became, part of our everyday lives. And then also seeing parents and students who don't have that advocate at home and or don't understand technology or how it could help them became really passionate for us too, because then we found that we really do have to educate teachers on how to leverage technology to help all students within their classroom. And so it became a passion project. It became very personal. And so we started running with it. And it also comes into our own professions, like for your question. When we're looking at where we want to work somewhere that is going to empower us, that gives us autonomy, that views what we do and what our passions are with respect, and also, with joy and wanting to be a part of that aspect of technology and that aspect of education.
Excellent. Jenny, you want to chime in on?
Yes, and we were very fortunate, and kind of a little bit about where we are now. Celie used to work in Castleberry ISD previous to coming to Eagle Mountain, and so we had an opportunity to go back. She had an opportunity to go back, and of course, she said, "I got to bring Jenny with me." And so, we both decided it was a very hard decision. I have 4 kids, and 3 of them still in the district where we live, and that's very important to me, is being part of the community where my kids attend as well. So, we did a lot of praying and just soul seeking and seeing what was best for us, and decided that, it was good to make the move. And so we went, and we were very fortunate to be able to still be empowered to be who we are as Janelle, and to be able to bring the things that we offer to the district. And so it's a really nice give and take situation where, we work together there. But in the district where we are now, they are a Google district, where we were before, it was a Microsoft district. So we're kind of trying to bring a lot of the Microsoft tools to where we are, because Microsoft to us is like a game changer. And I know there are a lot of Google users out there, but my daughter even was in an interview for her sorority yesterday, and they asked her how she stays organized and what she uses. And she said, well, I use OneNote to keep track of all my notes and, just clipping things and links and stuff. So I just feel so fortunate. And this is the one that has dyslexia, and watching her progression of, overcoming this and using the tools that we've provided through Microsoft with Immersive Reader and OneNote, and just being able to use dictation and all of these things. It's just, we've seen that transformation with our own children, and to be able to, go into classrooms when we see that need, that teachers are like, how do I give this test to my kids, orally? And we're like, okay, well, you can do it this way, or use Immersive Reader and use Edge. So it's just, Celie and I would just like pulling our hair out, because we can't reach everybody. We're just 2 of us. How can we, reach these thousands of teachers we have in our district, and these, 22,000 students in our previous district. And now the district that we are with only has 3,500 students. So it's very much smaller, and, we're able to go in and work a little bit more intimately with some of these classes. So we're hoping to bring some of these transformational Microsoft tools to our new district. But that's just really what we're passionate about, is making learning accessible. And to us, accessible is, being able to access that content however is best for you and whatever your needs are as a learner. And, that might mean using a colored overlay. It might mean having it read to you. It might mean having the font larger. It might mean just, making no changes. But whatever it is, we want to make sure that people know there are options. And we love having fun. And we also like to bring that aspect into everything we do also.
Most definitely. And I love what you said. Our district is primarily, it's all Google. And so, we find those tools, but there are some Microsoft tools also as well. We're a Microsoft Google district.
Mhm.
So we make that happen. So we do have that access. But, for me, it's how do you maybe I guess, work with teachers that maybe are just know like I'm strictly Google. This is brand new, and maybe I like to take this phrase from Amy Minter from Fried Tech. He said they're so used to the twatty. This is the way I've always done it.
Mhm.
What are some ways that you have kind of worked with those teachers to kind of just open up, just that mindset of, hey, let's try something different if this isn't quite working? So how do you guys go about that?
Well,
So we'll
I'll,
start with
okay.
Sali. All right.
Okay. Sure. I think first we meet them where they are. We listen to them. We hear them. Even if it is something that we do need to change or try to help them think outside the box, we still meet them where they are and build that relationship with them. And then we look at like what is the problem, and then how can we show you a better solution to that problem. And I think through showing a solution that is easy, that is built in, that takes saves you time or saves you energy, that's usually a no-brainer. And usually they're like, oh my goodness, yes, I want whatever that is to save me time, to save me thoughts, to save all of those things. So once we show the benefit, then it's usually like, oh yeah, let's do that. So we just try to find the problem and then try to find the best solution that's easiest for them. And it's not the same for everyone, right? Some people are stronger in Google or some are stronger in Microsoft, but typically we can, once we show a solution that is really beneficial, they're able to look past whatever the hurdle was that was keeping them. So,
Excellent. How about you, Jenny? What are your, I guess, advice or tips to be able to work with a teacher that may be set in their ways?
Well, and I mirror those thoughts too. Exactly. Was going to say similar things, of course, but I think too is finding that teacher that is willing to take a risk and try, because then they light the fire for everyone around them. And we do have a couple of those, teachers that are willing to try things, and so those are the ones we usually go to. We're like, hey, can we show you reading progress? I mean, it's a game changer. Once you see it, you're going to be blown away. Or can we show you math tools in OneNote? And then when they see it, they're like, they have to figure out how they can use it. So just finding those people that are those risk takers and willing to listen and learn something new. And then, not everyone is going to change, and that's completely fine. I mean, you're going to have those people that want to just continue doing. And if it's working and it's not broken, then why try to change it? So we completely respect that. But we know that there are those that are willing to try new things. So those are the ones that we kind of target. And usually, people will see and they're like, oh, look what they're doing over there. That's pretty cool. I want some of that. So we try to find those ones that are willing to take risks.
Excellent.
we also like to say, take one thing and own it. For those who are like hesitant to using technology at all, we don't want them to get overwhelmed. We want them just to take one new tech and try it and own it, learn everything about it. And then once you feel comfortable, then we can branch out to something else. But I think that comes back to that relationship piece where the people and you work with them where they are.
I love everything that you said because you're absolutely right. Some of the things that have worked well for us in our district have been those early adopters that are just teachers that are very comfortable, that are just like, hey, yes, I'm willing to try. Because once the other teachers start seeing like, hey, what is it that you're doing? And or maybe kind of like, hey, I noticed you have a little bit more time at the end of the day. Like, what are you doing different, and so on. And then they're able to explain what they're doing to the other teachers, and that really just kind of lights that fire. And then we get the calls and say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about this, and so on. And I love that idea, of the early adopters to ignite that little spark of curiosity and just be able to take those risks. And I love what Stacy Benton, who's joining us here in the chat. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us. But yeah, I love the risk takers. I definitely agree with that. And to Sally's point too, what you were saying, that is one thing that I've been trying to work on that mentality for the teachers as far as a lot of tech. One of the things that we find in our district is we have adopted certain platforms, which would be like Kami, Edpuzzle. Of course, we're a Google district as well. And then we also have some things like for IXL, things for science and so on. But what oftentimes happens now with so much on social media is that we have a lot of teachers that just are hopping on to different things. There is a purpose for all of those tools, but kind of what I wanted to touch on was, Sally, your point was I see the tech now as, I want the teachers to kind of treat it as an instrument
Mhm.
and not necessarily a tool. And the tool, and this is what I mean. Like when my wife says, "Hey, I need you to put a frame up," I'm going to grab a hammer and I'm going to use that and, put the little frame up. And then I put the hammer, it solved my problem. But sometimes what happens is in that solving that problem, now there's another app that does the exact same thing, but just has one additional little button that really doesn't make too much of a difference. But the teacher has not been able to dive in deep into those platforms and the possibilities of what can happen. So it's more like, I want you to look at it as an instrument. You may pick it up at first like a guitar. You may not know how to play it at first, but once you tune the strings, you know the notes, you play the chords, and then you dive in deep, you're going to be playing some beautiful melodies. And so that's kind of where I'm working with the teachers. I still encourage them, like, hey, there are some other tools that may be easier or maybe that you might find just a little bit more intuitive, but don't dismiss something right away after the first time because the next tool that does the exact same thing just has one more additional component that really does not affect the pedagogy or the practice. So
Mm,
is that something that you quite often see where teachers, you do have those teachers that are just hopping on from app to app and platform to platform?
definitely.
Yeah.
And because if they learn about the latest and greatest or the newest, shiny tool, like you're
Mhm.
saying. And so that's, I think, what's important about our role is to really go out there and, make sure that those resources and tools are vetted and that we find, is this, like, you get down a rabbit hole and you're going to have to pay for it eventually to get, whatever you want out of it. So we try to really share things that we know are supported by our district, and especially now too with the data and sharing, and privacy. It's such an issue with what we can use and what we're putting content into. So I think that's where our role is key, is to be able to vet those out and just offer teachers what we feel is the premium of those tools. So
Mhm.
and making sure it fits into the curriculum. So
Yeah, and I think that's something that's very important, making sure that it does fit into the curriculum. And I agree with you that sometimes teachers, they get really excited and then they hit that paywall. Like, you got the freemium, and then all of a sudden it's, they're the early adopters and now it's like everybody wants to use it. But I know in our district we're kind of look at the data, we look at usage to make those decisions. We are a small school district, so we don't have a lot to put towards a lot of additional platforms. So that's why we try to leverage what we have and try to maximize that. And so sometimes we'll see where we'll get some requests that'll be like, hey, this is what we want, and we're like, well, have you noticed that we have this platform that'll do the same thing? But then they're like, no, but this one has this one other thing, and so we kind of handle that as it comes. But like I said, for the most part, our district, one of the things that really helped this year, or this to the start of this year, is we actually sent out a survey to all our district. We had them, just fill in and say, okay, what are some of the platforms that you are using that are not district adopted? And then, of course, we went through that vetting process. We
Mhm.
looked at it, we saw what was out there, then we narrowed down the list, and then we sent it out to the teachers again and say, okay, these are our finalists. Please give us some feedback. What do you think? And so for the first time in a long time this year in my role, we didn't get a lot of, I guess you'd say, pushback from teachers because of the adoptions, because it was to their liking. It was what they wanted. We heard them. So we've got some platforms that are K-5 specific, 6 through 8, and then 6 through 12. And the teachers, for the most part, have been just wonderful in being able to adopt that. And so I think that's helped out a lot. In your current roles, is that something that maybe in your district you do? How do you guys go about maybe seeing what it is that you would be adopting?
I think it's interesting. Where we were before at Eagle Mountain, we loved our time there and our experience there. And it actually operates different than the way that Castleberry operates. So there we were able to go in straight with teachers and work with them. It also was a time before COVID too, right? So like doors were open. There was no mask. There wasn't the separation of only video calls. So we were able to have more relationship with teachers individually. And so we really were getting that teacher feedback, and it almost was like customizing, each classroom. Like, what does that teacher need? What can we do to help them? So it was more customizable, I guess. But now with more restrictions on app usage, also with doors being locked for safety and going through COVID and all the changes, we've moved to Castleberry, and theirs is more integrated with curriculum. So we really work more with the curriculum writers and also the coaches, and using apps in that way. And so then they write it into the curriculum. And so that's been more of kind of the direction we've been going lately, in helping teachers and finding technology that way. Our team also over the summer, they did a very similar thing with a survey, asking teachers, what do you want to know? And then they created a whole summer training over just the things that teachers asked for and integrating specific apps in that way. But I mean, it's interesting going from, I guess the whole reason I was saying all this, it's interesting going from two different institutions and seeing like how they interact. And, you know, like at Eagle Mountain, we didn't get in much with the curriculum people. So we always were like, oh, if it was written into the curriculum, we feel like it would be more used or more powerful. When in here, we're like, oh, I wish we could get in with teachers. Like we want to be in front of them, but it's also powerful because we're able to work with curriculum. So it's been interesting seeing the two ways to work.
Excellent. That's a good point.
Because
yeah.
we know too, I was just going to add that, you know, they think that it's an extra, right? Like, oh, that technology thing is just an extra. But if it's in the curriculum and that's their Bible and they have to do it, then they'll actually use it. So we're finding that getting it in the curriculum is really the way to go, because otherwise if we show them something, they're like, oh, I don't have time for that, you know, or that's just an extra. So curriculum documents is where it's at. Put it in there. And
that is a great tip. So for anybody listening, embed it into the curriculum because it's there and it just becomes part of the learning process. So I really like that. That's a great tip for a lot of practitioners, a lot of districts to really follow. So let's talk a little bit more now as far as, still staying within the means of accessibility in your mission. So when you guys go out to present, I know that you guys present also in a lot of the accessibility tools, a lot of creation tools as well. So I want to get into that. So let's talk a little bit about some of your conferences that you'll be headed out to and what you're planning on presenting, and just give us a little brief background as far as your experience on why you are passionate about sharing this tool, as far as, of course, enhancing the learning, also making things easy for teachers, and of course for the learner themselves, the students. So what conferences do you have coming up and what will you be presenting? So we'll start with Jenny this time.
That's her strength.
We are going to be in just a few short weeks at FETC in New Orleans. So we're super excited about that. And then we will be at TCEA. So we will see you there at TCEA. And then we will be at IdeaCon. So we're very excited for that. That's a first for us and a first for Chicago. So we're excited. We're going to bring our winter parkas. And we're preparing right now, I think.
I was like, Texas is getting us ready right now.
And then we'll be at NCCE later in March. So that will be a first for us also. So we're excited for that conference. But this year is different for us. We actually will be presenting kind of with some of our great friends, the E-Twins, which we were talking about earlier. And also Scott Bricker is a great friend of ours. And we all share, again, a similar passion. We were just chatting, and we always kind of end up at the conferences together. We've done sessions with the E-Twins before on kind of like globally connected, doing like Skype in the classroom, kind of connecting with Flipgrid, Grid Pals, things like that. So we're like, why don't we just all put together some sessions and just do this all together? Because we're always together anyways. So we have a really great mix of the boys bring a lot of like assessment, some brain. Scott Bricker does a lot of things with the brain that's very like deep and
very brainy
stuff. And the boys do a lot of SEL. We call them the boys. So the E-Twins, the boys. They do a lot of SEL and self-regulation and project-based learning. And so we bring, and they do a lot with creativity and gamification as well. But Celie and I love, like I said, the fun. We love bringing in the gamification and sharing escape rooms and choice boards. We'll be presenting about Canva is one of our all-time favorites, and that is just a hot topic. Everyone is just dying to learn about Canva everywhere we go. So we'll be sharing about Canva as well. I think we do have a Microsoft session. We can't not present Microsoft. So that is always there in our back pocket. So we have a Microsoft Magic, and this one is fun. We like to wear like magic hats, and we have a wand and capes. And so we always like to bring props, and we give out lots of prizes and giveaways, and we like to make it fun. So that's definitely.
I mean, just like in the classroom, if we're not having fun, I don't want to do it. Like, I want to have fun. I want my students to have fun. The same with presenting and being at different conferences. I want to have fun while I'm learning and have a good time. And I think that's what we try to bring too. I'm super excited too. At FETC, we're going to be leading some meeting of the minds sessions where we're just coming together, and we know the room is the smartest person in the room. So we're super excited to have a room full of educators discussing specific EdTech and educational topics. So I'm really excited for that, for me, even just to learn and soak up knowledge and create those relationships with other people.
Another new one for us is creating your EDU social brand. So we're going to do a brand one for teachers that are like us, like we started our YouTube channel. How do you get started? What kind of things do you need to know? And following, we have a unique story. The E-Twins have a story. Scott Bricker has a story. So we're just kind of share how we got started, little tips and tricks, and you have a great story too. What are these things that we can share and help each other for an educator that might be wanting to start a YouTube show, or, start some TikToks, or just start a blog, or, things like that. And make that accessible for their students and for their parents, or for other educators around the world. So super excited about that session too.
Excellent. That one sounds great. I mean, actually, they all sound great, but of course, the personal branding and of course, starting your building up your brand and your following is something that's great. And I mean, in 2 years doing this and just the work that goes into it, and a lot of people just they may see your channel, they may see what you put out, and I always say what you're seeing is the finished product of years of work and learning and tips, and maybe 150 takes before you get that one right take, and so on. So that's definitely a lot of that'll be interesting, and that'll resonate with a lot of educators, because we've got so many brilliant educators out there that can really do some amazing things and are doing it, but they may not have a platform yet, or they haven't started. And again, that's one of the missions of this podcast as well, is really just amplifying educator voices and hearing stories like you all, what you're doing and the amazing work, to be able to connect with you too as well. So that's wonderful. So that's really awesome. I'm really glad that you guys are out there. And so I want to ask you though, and we'll start with Salih this time. When you guys go out to conferences and you present, and then the current body of work that you are doing, Salih, what is, number one, your drive for what you do, and I guess the purpose. What do you want to say? Like, hey, I was able to do this or make this difference. What's your motivation there?
I think. I guess Jenny and I started sharing our voice, like we said, about 6 years ago. And I love our community of building relationships online, building relationships in person at conferences. It is what drives us. I love learning from them. I also love sharing what we're doing as well. I feel like both are equally important within the PLN relationship. And it is what drives us. So we hope to learn. We also hope to share. And anything we can do to learn, to make something faster or easier, anything we can do to make education more important, more fun, sharing our voice is super important to us. So just the PLN community in general, I guess, is my answer.
Jenny, how about yourself? What is your drive and your passion? Why you go out there and just put yourself out there like this?
Well, I think it's I have to say too, I don't know that I would do it if I didn't have Salih, because this partnership we have just really makes it easy and fun. But I love being the teacher and the educator and trainer, just seeing those aha moments. Like we said, like I'm not in the classroom every day anymore, so it's just another opportunity to look across the audience and see like those jaw drop moments where like, oh my gosh, or just their eyes light up, or they're frantically taking notes, and then you'll get those email replies that say, oh my gosh, this, just learning this in your session changed my life, and if we can make that impact on someone where they can then go and share that with their students or share that with their coworkers, like that's what it's all about. It's about just learning from each other and just spreading that fire And I just feel like it gives us that platform to do that. And like Slee said, we love giving the audience time to turn and talk and share. And we go over and listen to the conversations and we learn, and then we share out, oh my gosh, this person over here said this. And we learn every time we present. So it's just such a great give and take opportunity that just makes us better people. And it's just fun. And I never knew I would love it so much.
Oh,
I have
that
to
is
add to that though. Last night I went to a little Christmas get together with some friends, and they had people over that we didn't know. And we went the whole night. We played games, we hung out. And then at the end of the night, they were getting ready to leave. And one of the guys came over and asked if I was Celie from Janelle. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, well, I came to one of your sessions at TiaCon and I was not prepared and I didn't take notes well. And I should have done things different. And I was like, oh, well, it's cool now. We're friends like that. So I can totally give you our website. It's already there. But it was just fun to like, not even know we were connected, but we're connected. But it was interesting hearing his point, like Jenny was saying, like being able to see that aha moment. Because he was the one, I don't know if you remember Jenny or not, but his face was saying it all during the session. So I would gauge everything off of his face. Like, do I need to repeat that? Because his face would be like, I don't know what that is. So I would repeat off of his face, but
That's
I didn't
funny.
realize it was him until later. But anyway, all that to say, relationships matter. And also that moment and those sharing moments of learning are really important and impactful.
Oh man, that is amazing. And that's so inspiring. Again, just the way that you put yourselves out there, your heart and the way that you are, just your willingness to share, and that really speaks volumes of what the work that you do. And I'm just so excited for what 2023 is going to bring your way and bring our way as, learners from you. And of course, you guys learning from everybody there in the room and all the conferences that you're visiting and everything. So I'm really excited. And I definitely keep tabs on social media and on TikTok because you guys do share a lot of great tips and just, you have such a wonderful personality. So I absolutely love it. So thank you so much for joining us this morning and just sharing a little bit about your story. And that way educators can go ahead and connect with you. They have some sessions to look forward to. They can see Janelle and be like, hey, I'm definitely going to go check them out. And then that'll be great. So, but before we go though, this is the way we always wrap up the show. So we've got a couple of questions here and we'll definitely take turns. So right now we'll start with Jenny first. So Jenny, my question to you is in the current state of education, what would you say is your current edu kryptonite?
Okay, I had one and then I thought of another one. So I have kind of two. But one is just, and it's just like testing. Like I feel like we just test our kids to death and just over and over. Every time we turn around, we're testing again. So I just wish that there would be some magic cure that we could have that would take some testing away, but still be able to get the results that we need. I know that's impossible, but I feel like it's just over exhausted. And then my other one is just, I know this is kind of controversial too, Slee. I think some people think it's really funny and it can be funny, but it just really annoys me when I see a lot of the questions posted and it's like they want wrong answers only, because I just feel like that brings out negativity. Like every time I see one, I'm like, well, I know it's funny. I do think it's funny, some of them, but I'm like, but we're just being negative. And I always strive to bring out positivity. It's actually one of my top 5 strengths and sleeves as well.
It is.
So I don't know, that just kind of irks me when I see that, because I'm like, we're just focusing on the negative.
All right, good answer. Thank you so much, Jenny. How about you, Celie? What would you say is your current edu kryptonite?
I'm scared to say it because I think it's going to ruffle some feathers. It did Jenny's when I told her, but it's going to be okay. I don't like it when we as teachers make responsibility the thing that we're trying to teach. So a lot of times, like a kid will not do their homework or not turn something in or forget, in the library, for example, they wouldn't turn their library book in. And then a lot of times teachers will say, well, we have to teach them responsibility, which I agree, we do. But when it trumps what we're really trying to teach, that hurts my heart. Because life is hard and it's going to teach responsibility regardless. In fact, we don't know where kids are coming from or the situations or things that are happening at home. And so to make that my mission to teach responsibility, that hurts my heart, just because I think it's really difficult for school or the library to be um, that teacher. I want to have fun and I want to learn and have fun and make learning the mission that we're on, not teaching responsibility. Although it comes with it, I understand that, and I'm happy with that. I just don't want it to become the focus of what we teach.
No, that's a great answer. I absolutely agree. Sometimes, students turn in an assignment late or they may need an extension. Well, guess what? In the real world, they do get extensions. Sometimes they don't. It's like, hey, this happened. Okay, no worries. Let me give you extend your deadline, extend this, and so on, and just show some grace. Show some grace. And I think that's something that's very important. Where oftentimes you may see, a teacher that it's like, no, 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 this is it, this is the way it goes, and you either get the 0 or you get the 50 depending on what your code of conduct says. And that really, it's not going to help the student, and it's not going to help them feel any better or even any more engaged. You just could have ruined their day. And like you said, you don't know where they're coming from that day. They might have had just a bad morning, rough week, or home life. And so that was one of the things that when I moved and transitioned down into elementary, I learned along the ways just to really show that grace, because I started learning more that not all my students come from, the same kind of home life. And so I just respected that. And instead of homework, everything was done in class, because some of them at home did not have that additional support. So I felt it was my responsibility to be there for them and to help, but not penalize, and just show that grace. So I thank you so much for your answer. I really appreciate that. All right, second question, and this time we'll start with Salih. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Okay, I'm gonna say leverage technology to empower your students. I think a lot of times we forget that our students are empowered with technology and can be empowered with technology. There's so much information, so much accessibility, so many pieces that we sometimes forget to allow them to access. And so I think that would be my billboard if we were going to have one.
I love that. Thank you so much. Jenny, what would be your billboard?
Well, mine actually is right here. Wait, right here. It would say, "Don't forget to go and be a different kind of awesome." We usually try to close out our show or our video with that saying, and it's kind of funny because Ricky, that we mentioned earlier, that coined our name, he called Salih one time. He's like, "Salih, you're a different kind of awesome." And I don't think he meant it as a compliment.
I don't think so.
But
Maybe I'm going to say he did. I mean,
we took it that way. We're like, Salih's like, "Yeah, Ricky, I kind of am." So that kind of became our little slogan. And so we just want to empower people to be a different kind of awesome, whatever that is. But you can be different, and it's okay, and be awesome.
Excellent. I love that. That's great. All right. And the last question. So I know, well, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll start with Jenny this time. And so let's say that I get to be a guest on the Janelle show. And this morning, I'm excited because I'm here with you amazing, awesome sauce hosts. What would be one question you'd like to ask me? And we'll start with Jenny this time.
Okay, I would ask you, in light of where we are in this world of EdTech, a lot of people seem to be leaving education and going to work for like EdTech companies and things like that. And we've had a lot of friends, and I mean, we're super excited and proud of them. What keeps you in education doing what you're doing?
That is a great question, because I can see both ways. Now, for the EdTech companies, in some way, I'm like, okay, now you finally have educators and teachers that can help write or help, understand what teachers need, and kind of, gear your platform to be a little bit more user friendly and meeting our needs where we're at. Where before you didn't have any educators in those platforms, and they were just throwing stuff out, hoping that it'll stick and it'll work. So, for those educators that did go and do that, that's great. I think we'll have some voice and maybe some more advocacy there. For myself, being where I'm at, I think this is where the action is. I love that day in, day out, it's a different experience, and even a different learning experience and a different teaching experience. So I may go into a classroom where I learn something or a different way of using one of the platforms that we use and that I never even thought of or haven't seen yet. And so I get to take that back and, of course, share it with everybody within our district. And that's really exciting. Working with the kids, seeing all of that. But really, like I said, also it's just that passion that I have for where I'm at. I absolutely love the work that I do. And if I can help not only get myself 1% better a day, but help somebody get 1% better a day in the district, I mean, it's all for it because at the end, you're going to see that return on investment. And, you're planting that seed there too as well. So that's really one of the things that keeps me still, excited about being in education and not necessarily, let me step out and go somewhere else or an ed tech company, which again, great and kudos to all our
Mhm.
friends that are doing that again, because now it's like, hey, can you tell them to do this? Can you tell them to do that?
Exactly.
Then yeah, so for that. So again, that would be my answer. So that's a great question, Jenny. Sali, how about
Awesome.
yourself? What would be
All
one
right.
question you'd like to ask me?
I have a fun one for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So you mentioned TikTok, and we love TikTok. We started using it during 2020, and we found that we could make 1 minute tutorials and also have fun, which is important to us. But what is your favorite TikTok style videos to watch?
My favorite TikTok style videos to watch. That's a good one because there's a variety. I kind of, okay. So on the content creation side, I really like those TikTok videos where it's a talking head video, but they're not talking directly to you in the camera like this. They're always off to the side, and then they're giving some like sage advice, and they're like, "Yeah, in life, this is what will happen," or but whatever. So I kind of like those videos. They kind of catch my attention, and a lot of the content there is great. When I do see videos on how to, real quick, I would love to just hey, just give me the how to like right there right away, and then sometimes they'll add like extra stuff. I'm like, just give me the content and I'm good, and just show me the tips, and that's pretty much it. Because usually I already have my bookmark and I have everything bookmarked. So
Mhm.
if it's something for Canva, it's like boom, Canva. If it's something for Google, so then I go and revisit and I get that 1 minute tutorial.
Mhm.
I love that you people may put a little spice to it, but sometimes it could be a little too extra. It's like I just want that little micro bit of knowledge, and then I'm just gonna go back and put it to practice, and go at it, and then share that in my own way to my district. Because sometimes knowing my customers, I'll kind of have to change things a little bit to make it
Mhm.
more for them. But yeah, but really those are the two types of videos that I like watching. And of course, what I put out is really I'll do the talking heads here where I'll get your sound bites and then I'll post those out, and those usually they get some pretty good traction too as well, because they get to hear from the experts like yourself, as far as what practice or practices you guys do, what you guys encourage, what you're all about, and that really motivates the audience. So
That's
yeah, that's
awesome.
pretty much it.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies. You guys have been phenomenal. You guys are great. And I wish you the best in 2023 with all the traveling that you will be doing. And I'm glad that I'll get to run into y'all at TCEA and, get to spend some time. And I'll probably share some new stickers with me. As you know, every time I see you guys, I always have new
Mhm.
stickers and everything. So I'll definitely share some new stickers and some new swag with you all. But thank you so much for just really sharing your heart today, sharing your genuineness, your authenticity, and just your passion for what you do. I really appreciate you all. And again, your district is so lucky to have you. The EduSpace is lucky to have you and have advocates such as yourself for learning and making learning accessible for all. So thank you for what you do. And to all our audience members watching today that were live, we had Stacy that was live, Sherry that was live. Thank you so much for joining us today with your comments. I really appreciate y'all. And for all of you that will be rewatching and re-listening to the podcast, thank you as always from the bottom of my heart for making my EdTech life what it is today. Please make sure you visit our website at myedtech.life to check out this amazing episode and the other 157 amazing episodes where you can learn so much from amazing educators and creators and take some things that you can sprinkle on to what you're already doing great. So thank you as always. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to all our socials. And if you'd like to contribute to our mission, please make sure you stop by our store on our website where we've got some great designs. We've got some great caps here that you can go ahead and get. And again, all of this goes back to supporting our mission to bring you some amazing shows and connecting with some amazing educators. So thank you all as always. And until next time, my friends, don't forget, stay techie.